The real reason your heart feels tired all the time. It doesn't start with pain. There's no sudden warning, no sharp signal that something is wrong. It usually begins as a feeling you can't fully explain. You get tired more easily than before. Simple activities feel heavier. Climbing stairs takes a little more effort, and your energy doesn't bounce back the way it used to. So naturally, one thought starts to form: is something wrong with my heart? And for many people, that thought stays in the background, quiet but persistent, because nothing feels severe enough to act on. Just a constant sense that your body's working harder than it should. But here's where it gets interesting. In many cases, this feeling isn't coming from a weak heart at all. Your heart is still doing its job. The real issue is what it's working against. Because when your circulation becomes less efficient, when your blood vessels create more resistance, and when oxygen delivery slows down, your heart has to push harder to keep everything going. And over time, that extra effort shows up as something you feel every day. Fatigue, low energy, that sense of being constantly drained. In this video, we're going to uncover the real reason your heart feels tired all the time, what's actually happening inside your body, and what truly matters if you want to restore your energy and support your heart the right way. What does heart feeling tired really mean? Let's start with something important. That feeling you describe as your heart being tired is not actually coming from your heart the way you might think, because your heart doesn't feel fatigue in the same way your muscles do. It doesn't get sore. It doesn't send a direct signal saying, I'm tired. So what are you really feeling? The experience most people notice. When people say their heart feels tired, they're usually describing low energy throughout the day, getting tired more quickly during activity, needing more time to recover, a sense that their body isn't keeping up. It's not a sharp symptom. It's a pattern, a gradual change in how your body feels and performs. Your heart's role is simple but constant. It pumps blood every second, every minute, without stopping. But how hard it has to work depends on the system around it. If your circulation is efficient, blood flows easily, oxygen is delivered smoothly, your body functions with less effort. But if that system becomes less efficient, blood flow slows down, resistance increases. Your heart has to push harder. And when that happens, your entire body starts to feel the difference. The key insight. So the feeling of heart fatigue is not really about the heart itself. It's about how efficiently your body's moving blood and delivering oxygen. If that system is under strain, you feel it as fatigue, low stamina, reduced energy, even though your heart is still working continuously. Why this gets misunderstood. Most people assume, if I feel tired, my heart must be weak. But in many cases, the heart is not weak, it's working harder than it should. And that's a very different situation. Doctors often look at fatigue as a system-level symptom, not just a heart-specific issue, because energy levels depend on circulation, oxygen delivery, overall efficiency of the cardiovascular system. How to think about it. Instead of asking, is my heart getting weaker? Ask, is my system becoming less efficient? That question leads you closer to the real cause. What feels like heart fatigue is usually not the heart itself. It's a signal that your circulation and oxygen delivery are not as efficient as they should be. The hidden truth: your heart is working harder than it should. Now here's the shift that changes everything. What if your heart isn't tired because it's weak, but because it's overworking? This is the part most people never consider. The assumption versus reality. Most people think, if I feel tired, my heart must not be strong enough. But in many cases, the opposite is happening. Your heart is still strong, still pumping, still doing its job, but it's doing that job under more strain than it should. Your heart pumps blood into a network of blood vessels. If that network is open, flexible, and efficient, blood moves easily. The heart works smoothly. Your body feels balanced. But if something changes in that system, blood vessels become less flexible, resistance increases, flow becomes less efficient. Then your heart has to push harder to move the same amount of blood. And it does this automatically, without stopping, without rest. The key concept: effort versus efficiency. Think of it like this. Two people can do the same task. One does it efficiently leads to less effort. One does it inefficiently leads to more effort. Your heart works the same way. When circulation is efficient, it works with ease. When circulation becomes inefficient, it works harder. And over time, that extra effort shows up as fatigue. Why you feel it? Your body doesn't feel the heart working harder directly, but it feels the effects of that extra effort. Lower energy, reduced stamina, slower recovery, because your system is using more energy just to maintain normal function. Doctors often distinguish between heart weakness and increased workload on the heart because these are not the same. In many cases, symptoms appear not because the heart is failing, but because it's compensating. How to think about it. Instead of thinking, my heart is tired, think, my heart is working harder than it should. That small shift leads to a completely different understanding. Your heart often feels tired not because it is weak, but because it is working harder than necessary due to increased resistance and inefficient circulation. Hidden driver number 1, poor circulation efficiency. Now let's go deeper. If your heart is working harder than it should, what's causing that extra effort? One of the biggest reasons is something most people never think about: circulation efficiency. Not just whether blood is moving, but how well it's moving. Your body depends on blood to deliver oxygen, nutrients, energy support to every cell. This delivery system needs to be smooth and efficient. When circulation is working properly, blood reaches tissues quickly. Oxygen is delivered without delay. Your cells produce energy effectively, but when circulation becomes less efficient, blood flow slows slightly, delivery becomes delayed. Your body has to work harder to maintain balance. What inefficiency feels like. This doesn't stop blood flow completely. It just makes everything less effective. And that small drop in efficiency can show up as low energy, fatigue during simple activities, slower recovery, reduced stamina, because your body is not getting what it needs when it needs it. Why this happens? Circulation efficiency can decline gradually due to reduced physical activity, changes in blood vessel responsiveness, overall system imbalance. These changes are often subtle, but over time they affect how smoothly your system works. The key insight. Most people think, as long as blood is flowing, everything is fine. But that's not true. It's not just about flow, it's about efficient flow. Even small inefficiencies can increase the workload on your heart and reduce how your body feels. Doctors often look at how effectively blood is being delivered throughout the body, not just whether it's moving, because circulation efficiency plays a major role in energy levels and overall cardiovascular function. How to think about it. Instead of asking, is my circulation working? Ask, is my circulation efficient? That's where the real difference lies. Your heart feels more tired when circulation becomes less efficient because your body receives oxygen and nutrients more slowly, increasing the workload on your system. Hidden driver number 2, blood vessel resistance. Now let's connect everything together. If circulation becomes less efficient, one key reason behind it is something called resistance inside your blood vessels. And this is one of the biggest reasons your heart ends up working harder. Your heart pushes blood through a network of arteries. If those arteries are flexible, open, responsive, blood flows easily. But if those arteries become slightly narrower, less flexible, slower to respond, blood meets resistance. And when resistance increases, your heart has to generate more force to keep blood moving. A simple way to understand it. Imagine pushing water through a wide pipe. It flows easily. Now imagine pushing that same water through a narrower or stiffer pipe. You have to push harder. Your heart works in the same way. It's not just pumping, it's pushing against whatever resistance exists in your system. The chain reaction. Here's what happens step by step. Blood vessels become less flexible. Resistance increases, heart pushes harder. Energy demand increases, fatigue develops. This process happens gradually. And because it's not sudden, most people don't notice it at first. Your heart is designed to work continuously but efficiently. When resistance increases, the heart uses more energy. The system becomes less efficient. Your body feels more tired, even though nothing dramatic has happened. Cardiologists often focus on reducing resistance within the vascular system because when resistance decreases, blood flow improves, the heart relaxes, overall efficiency increases. This is why vessel health is so important. How to think about it. Instead of thinking, my heart is tired, think, my heart is pushing against resistance. That shift explains the feeling more accurately. Increased resistance inside your blood vessels forces your heart to work harder, which contributes to the feeling of constant fatigue and reduced energy. Hidden driver number 3, oxygen delivery problem. Now let's go even deeper, because there's one more piece that explains why your body feels constantly tired. And it has nothing to do with effort. It has everything to do with oxygen. Every cell in your body depends on oxygen to produce energy. This process happens continuously. Oxygen is delivered through your blood. Cells use it to create energy. Your body functions smoothly. When oxygen delivery is efficient, energy levels stay stable. Muscles perform better. Your brain stays sharp. But when oxygen delivery slows down, energy production drops. Your body feels fatigued. Even simple tasks feel harder. What causes this problem? When circulation becomes less efficient and resistance increases, blood takes longer to reach tissues. Oxygen delivery becomes less consistent. Cells receive less support. This doesn't mean oxygen stops completely. It just means your system is no longer delivering it efficiently. And that small difference has a big impact on how you feel. Why this feels like tiredness? Your body doesn't tell you oxygen delivery is reduced. Instead, it translates that into a feeling you understand. Fatigue. Because from your body's perspective, energy production is lower than it should be. The key insight. This is why you can feel tired even when you've had enough rest. You're not doing heavy activity because the issue is not rest, it's delivery. Doctors understand that energy levels are closely tied to how well oxygen is delivered and used in the body. When this system becomes less efficient, fatigue becomes one of the earliest and most noticeable symptoms. How to think about it. Instead of asking, why am I always tired? Ask, is my body getting oxygen efficiently? That question points you toward the real cause. When oxygen delivery becomes less efficient, your body produces less energy, leading to constant fatigue even when you're not overexerting yourself. Why it feels like your heart is the problem. At this point, everything connects. Your circulation is less efficient. Your blood vessels create more resistance. Oxygen delivery slows down. But here's the confusing part. Why does it feel like your heart is the problem? The misleading sensation. When your energy drops and your body feels constantly tired, your mind naturally looks for a central cause. And the heart feels like the most obvious answer. After all, it controls blood flow. It's essential for survival. It's always working. So when something feels off, it's easy to assume, my heart must be weak. But in many cases, that's not what's happening. Your heart sits at the center of your circulatory system. When anything in that system becomes less efficient, your heart compensates. It increases effort. It maintains blood flow. So even if the issue starts elsewhere, like in your blood vessels or circulation, your heart becomes the most noticeable part of the system. Why your body interprets it this way. Your body doesn't separate symptoms the way we do. It doesn't label circulation inefficiency, oxygen delivery problems, vascular resistance. Instead, it sends you a general signal. Fatigue, low energy, reduced stamina. And because the heart is central to all of this, it feels like the source. The key misunderstanding. This is where most people go wrong. They assume that if I feel tired, my heart must be failing. But often the reality is, my heart is compensating for a less efficient system. That's a completely different situation. Doctors often distinguish between symptoms that originate from the heart and symptoms that result from systemic inefficiency. Because treating the symptom without understanding the system can lead to confusion. What happens when your system becomes efficient again? Now here's the part most people don't hear often enough. If your heart feels tired because your system is inefficient, then what happens when that system starts working better? Everything begins to change. The first changes you notice. The shift usually doesn't feel dramatic at first. It starts with small improvements. You feel slightly more energetic during the day. Simple activities feel a bit easier. Your body doesn't feel as heavy or drained. These are early signs that your system is becoming more efficient. When circulation improves and resistance decreases, blood flows more smoothly. Oxygen reaches your cells more efficiently. Your heart doesn't have to push as hard. As a result, energy production improves. Your body uses less effort for the same tasks. Your overall system becomes more balanced. This is not about forcing change. It's about restoring efficiency. The timeline of improvement. Your body responds faster than most people expect. Even small changes can begin to influence how you feel. Better circulation can improve energy within days. Consistent habits can strengthen your system over weeks. Long-term patterns create lasting improvement. The key is consistency, not intensity, the emotional shift. There's also a shift in how you see your body. Instead of thinking, something is wrong with me, you begin to realize that my system is responding to what I do. That's a powerful change because it means you're not stuck. You're working with a system that can improve. The big insight, your body's not designed to stay inefficient. It adapts to the signals you give it. When those signals support circulation, balance, and recovery, efficiency improves, strain decreases, energy returns, and that tired feeling begins to fade, bringing it all together. When your system becomes more efficient, your heart works with less effort. Your body produces more energy. Your daily experience feels lighter and more stable, not because something was forced, but because your system is functioning the way it's meant to. When your circulation becomes more efficient and when resistance decreases, your heart works less, your energy improves, and the feeling of constant fatigue begins to fade naturally. Final takeaway, that feeling of your heart being tired. It's not always a sign that your heart is weak. More often, it's a signal that your system is working harder than it should. Because when circulation becomes less efficient, when resistance builds inside your blood vessels, and when oxygen delivery slows down, your heart doesn't stop. It pushes harder. And over time, that extra effort shows up as something you feel every day. Fatigue, low energy, that constant sense of being drained. But here's what matters most. This is not a fixed condition. When you support your circulation, improve your daily habits, and reduce unnecessary strain on your system, you're not just helping your heart. You're making the entire system more efficient. And when that happens, your heart doesn't feel tired anymore because it doesn't have to work as hard. If this video helped you understand your body in a new way, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who feels constantly low on energy without knowing why.